So now I'm going to, that was a seamless mic transition. Thank you, person in the sky who made that work. So much work goes into these festivals, and I do want to take a second to thank all of the volunteers and staff members and everybody here at Jones Prep for making this all run so smoothly and be so fun. So thanks all of you. I'm going to answer some questions. Some of those questions will be from you as like physical human beings, and some of those questions will be questions that you submitted by a card. Thank you for these. I did not pick these, so if I didn't pick your question, don't blame me, because I didn't pick them. These are good though. Whoever did the picking did excellent curation. After a successful start as a solo author, why did you decide to join forces with David Levithan? So I wrote this book, Will Grayson, is Eileen here, by the way, or have I been talking about her the whole time and she's not even here? Hi! Hi, thanks. Oh, let's just go on like this all day. It seems like, so I wrote this book, Will Grayson, with my friend David Levithan, and it's my fourth, it came out fourth, but I started writing it before Looking for Alaska came out. It just took David and I a long time to write it, and we like went back and forth a lot and, you know, rewrote it for many, many years. So I started writing it when I worked at Booklist. I mean, I'm not at work. I only worked on Alaska at work. No, I never, you know, I would never do that. So in some ways I made the decision before my first book had come out. So it wasn't like that feeling of, oh, I've enjoyed this wonderful career and now I will go and work with David. I mean, I'd always liked David's writing. I really liked the book Boy Meets Boy. I reviewed The Realm of Possibility in Booklist. You know, when he asked me if I'd be interested in this, I was thrilled. And so we had a lot of fun writing that, but we wrote it over many, many years. Do you think you're successful? Huh? I don't know. That's my answer. Yeah, I'm going to stick with that. I like that answer. What is the best advice you've ever been given? Oh man, it's like Eileen Day here. I remember, Eileen used to try to like bolster my confidence a lot. I remember she gave me this New Yorker cartoon that I still have, and it's just a guy looking in the mirror and he says, looking good, feeling great, and almost famous. And I think Eileen knew like the dark corners of my heart better than I did, because in my mind I never wanted to be that kind of successful, but of course I did. And yeah, I would look at that cartoon like every day before I started writing. I'm so embarrassed to admit that, but it's true. But that's not the best advice I ever got. I mean, I'll say two pieces of advice, both from people in this room. I went crazy in 2001, not in like a funny way, but in a sad way, in September of 2001. And I remember I had to take a leave of absence from Booklist, and right before I left, the publisher of Booklist, Bill Ott, came up to me and he handed me this note. I still have the note. It's an amazing, kind note, because if you've ever had, there are any people in this room who've ever had an employee, when that employee like leaves, it's not a happy day. You're annoyed with them because you need them to be working and not having problems that are not relevant to the well-being of your magazine. But he wrote me this very generous note, and the last line of the note was, "Now more than ever, watch Harvey," which is a movie that none of you have ever heard of. So, that's good news, because I can deliver to you this same amazingly good advice. Now, more than ever, watch Harvey. I went home, this is a completely true story, I went home to Orlando to lick my wounds and try to recover, and I watched Harvey, and I woke up the next morning, and I have never, ever since then felt as bad as I did the day before I watched Harvey. It is the only thing that I can genuinely, that I've ever experienced that I would genuinely call life-changing. Like, the birth of my son was wonderful. It was a great day, and in many ways, my life has changed since then, because now I have to do things I didn't have to do before, like change diapers. But the only event that I feel was life-changing in my life was watching Harvey. So that, and then Eileen, I remember Eileen told me that you're much better off having a long career than a big career, and I've tried very hard to focus my writing on writing, you know, for a long time. Like I would much rather have Eileen's career of being able to write book after book after book after book. I mean, she has books coming out now, and she has books that came out in like when? The 80s? The 1880s. Yes. So she has a 140-year career. It's a beautiful thing. That, I mean, you know, that to me is like, that's my sort of guiding career advice. And when I think about like what decisions I should make in terms of publishing or whatever, I always think about that. Do you choose the topic for your book, or does the topic choose you? That's a really interesting question, but it kind of presupposes that the topic also has a consciousness, and that the mind of me and the mind of the topic are at war. I have no idea how brains work. People often ask me also, like, do I feel like the characters unexpectedly transport me to other places? And that's a very dangerous line of thinking, because if you say, like, this book wrote itself, or the characters made these decisions for themselves, that kind of presupposes that there's some, like, supernatural element in your writing, that, like, something or someone is outside of yourself is telling you what to write, which is like perilously close to saying that you're writing the Word of God. I always get a little nervous whenever my author friends say that to me. They're like, this character did things that I could never have imagined. And I'm like, really? You didn't even imagine them like while you were typing them? It's a very bold thing. I mean, I know we feel that way sometimes, but like it's a feeling, I think. But if it's not a feeling, then you are saying like you should read this book. It's scripture. It's bold. I mean, I would say that I choose the topics, but this is an interesting question because it is more complicated than that. Because when you're writing a story, lots of things happen that you don't expect when you're starting out, and there are on some level things that surprise you. But I think they come from here, somewhere. It's just that there's a lot in the human brain that you're not conscious of. So for instance, I tried not to write The Fault in Our Stars because I thought, and this is another reason why writers should never be trusted with their own career decisions, I thought that no one would ever want to read it because it was going to be super sad, and no spoilers, but I mean it's about a kid with cancer. And all of its, progenitors are like sad. So, I thought that no one would want to read it, so I tried to avoid writing it. And I spent a year trying to write this desert island novel that I thought everyone would like. It was about a hot boy on a desert island and a bunch of hot people. Island of the Blue Dolphins, which you also haven't seen, but for now I am there, where all of my movie references fall on completely deaf ears. So, it happens to us all. But yes, so I tried to write this desert island novel for a year, and it was unrelentingly terrible. Like, I saved 5-6 sentences from that book for The Fault in Our Stars, and other than that, it was a complete waste of my year. So on that level, the topic chose me, because finally I was like, okay, I give up. I will write this stupid cancer book that I've been trying to write for 10 years. I will do it. I will write it. Stop. Please stop making me try to write the desert island novel. So in that sense, it chose me. I did a terrible job answering that question. I apologize. Which of your books did you enjoy writing most, and why? Well, I didn't really enjoy writing it. No, I'm kidding. There were moments running The Fault in Our Stars that felt better than anything that I've ever had in my writing life, where I was just like, this is so fun, how did I get so lucky to be able to have this much fun? But I also felt that way writing Catherine's a lot, because Catherine's is like this romp of a book with lots of nerd stuff in it, and it just was like, it was my book, I didn't think anyone else was going to read it, which is sort of born up to history. But I really loved writing it. I had a great time writing it. Which was the most difficult? Definitely The Fault in Our Stars, because I spent like 11 years off and on writing it. So it was the most difficult by a lot. All right, last question before I take your questions. In The Fault in Our Stars, you argue that there is no shame in living a quiet life. Not just that there is no shame in it, sir or ma'am, judging from your handwriting, ma'am. But indeed that it is to be celebrated, that kind of life is the most heroic kind of life. Kim Kardashian, I will submit to you, is not the greatest hero of our time. I believe that there is great heroism in, being able to look at your loved ones when you die and say, I did a pretty good job of keeping my carbon footprint low. I mean that. I think there is great heroism in leading a quiet life, and I wanted Hazel to be a truly heroic character, not just a character with nothing to be ashamed of. No, without quote changing the world, yet you write books that reach many thousands of people. Oh, go on. Do you think there's a dichotomy between what you say and what you do? Yes. And if so, does it matter? That's a really good question. Yeah, that's a really interesting question. Does it matter? Yes. And is there a tension there? Yes. And I am aware of it. I mean, I'm much more Peter Van Houten, for those of you who've read the novel, than I am Hazel. I'm not proud of that, but it's true. And I was aware of the tension when I was writing the novel, but I'm also aware of the fact that lots of my readers would say that my life is a good model. And I'm not sure that that's actually true, or at least that I know it's not unambiguously true. I know that it's not the only good model. I know that there are lots of great models that don't involve, speaking to, this is very pleasant, but speaking to large rooms full of people. I wanted to celebrate those lives because we live in a world in which the word celebrity, which of course comes from the word celebrate, those are the people we celebrate. Now I'm not a celebrity, thank God, and I have no ambition of being one, and that's why my brother and I don't do TV shows and things like that. But I'm also aware of the fact that lots of people watch us on the internet, and I write books that lots of people read, and I'm very grateful for that. That doesn't change the fact that I'm in the same boat as my mom or anybody else, because we're all going to die, and everything will be forgotten, and it all will have been for nothing, as I previously noted. So it is a tremendous gift to be able to share with you stories that matter to me and have them matter to you. That has been the greatest gift of my life. But I'm also aware that those stories aren't just made by me. In the same way that it is a great gift to be able, that the people who built the John Hancock Tower are able to share that with me, because I love that building and I love going up to the top, and it's a wonderful thing that the people who built that have given us. But lots of people built it, and most of them aren't celebrated for having built it. So I believe in the importance of making those gifts and trying to find work where you're making gifts that that people will care about and care for. But I just don't believe in seeking this celebration rather than seeking the gift, seeking the opportunity to make the gift. That's what I believe in. So that's what I was trying to write when I was writing about Hazel. Really interesting question. I have time for maybe 2 questions from the actual physical audience. You guys scare me, but I prefer the note cards. But I will ask you, the people. Shannon, do you have anything? My best friend is here. Yes. Sure. Just because you seem so excited.
Will you ever write a book with Hank?
Will I ever write a book with Hank? No. No, I don't think that would be good for our relationship at all. I'm a difficult person to work with in any way, but particularly about writing, I think that I'm right. And I don't but I don't really take to other opinions. That's how people react to it. When people say I'm wrong about something in a book, when people make a criticism, they're usually right. I just don't think their solution is usually the solution. So, I know it would be bad for our brother, but. Other questions? Yes?
Yeah, I'm 12 years old and lack, hundreds of thousands of subscribers and follow my every move.
Yeah.
So,
that's good.
I have options, so how
How would I suggest someone like you decreasing world suck? That's a really interesting question. You don't need a platform to decrease world suck, and in some ways, having a platform makes you worse at it. Because there are lots of people you'll notice who have a platform who are totally disinterested in philanthropy and in making the world a better place to live for as many people as possible. So I'd say two things that you can do with no money, no subscribers, and and being 12. The first is that you can volunteer. There are tons of amazing places to volunteer. When I was growing up, I volunteered a lot at a homeless shelter and at a soup kitchen. It was tremendously important work for me, and my brother did it too. And I think like that shaped the whole rest of our lives and the way that we approach our lives. The second thing that you can do is you can go to kiva.org and make a free loan. You might have to pretend to be 13, but that's no big deal. You can make a free loan to an entrepreneur in the developing world just by virtue of having an email address. So I would encourage you to do that, and then you can have the cool experience of watching that person pay back the loan at a really low interest rate, and then at the end, sometimes they write you a note, and they're like, thank you so much. Here is how my business has improved as a result of your investment in it, and it's also a cool way to like get in touch with like the global economy and the incredibly complex problem of global poverty. So those are the two things that I would say, something that's at home and then something that's very far away from home. One more question. It's a great question, though. Thank you. Yes, someone from these sunglasses.
What is your dream for nerd criteria?
What is my dream for nerd criteria? Well, like I've been blessed and we've been blessed as a community with being really tight-knit even though we are on the internet. I don't know if we can continue to grow and stay tight-knit, and that doesn't really, all that matters to me is that we stay tight. It doesn't matter to me how many of us there are. It matters to us, it matters to me that like we stay connected to each other and we stay committed to doing good work, through organizations like Kiva, through the Projects for Awesome. We continue to find ways to do projects that make meaningful impact in the lives of real people, even though we mostly exist over the internet. I will say that it has been a tremendous privilege today to exist IRL with you. And I want to say how grateful I am to all of you, and again, express my gratitude to the Chicago Tribune for this extraordinary honor that honors my lifetime of work. Hopefully not. But it does mean so much to me, and it's such a pleasure to be here with all of you, and as we say in my hometown, don't forget to be awesome. Thank you.